child. So today we're going to be talking about something that parents tell me all the time, and I witness all the time working with young kids with autism. And that's that kids with autism, oftentimes they'll start saying things like their numbers, they'll start saying things like their letters. You might see them reading a book or looking at the pictures of a book and saying an animal that they really like, or a TV character or cartoon character, and yet they can ask for juice when they're thirsty, or they don't say mom or dad or hi when you come home from work. And it can be kind of confusing. Well, they can talk and they're saying this, but why aren't they asking for things? So we're going to talk a little bit today about the different types of operands in language, and those are the different components of language, and why some kids with autism might be going out of order and struggling with what we expect them to do. So in language, there's 5 different types of verbal operands. The first one that kids typically learn is called manding. That just means asking for things. Kids typically learn to do that first because of the fact that they're getting what they want, so it's really motivating. The second thing that kids learn to do is what's called echoic. So that just means repeating what you say. For an infant, that might be, if you're going la 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 la, the infant does it back, right? That's echoic. Kids tend to do that naturally. They tend to learn to ask for things and repeat things at around the same time. The third things that kids tend to learn to do is called tacting. That means to tell you what they see. This is what kids are doing with autism, when they're saying their numbers, or they're saying their letters, or they're saying the names of animals or TV characters, whatever it is they're saying. Numbers and letters tend to be a big one for kids with autism. They tend to really like numbers or letters. Not everyone, but a lot of kids do. That's called tacting. It means that they're saying what they're seeing. The third and fourth and fifth ones, we're not going to talk about them today, but just so you know what they are, they're called intraverbals, which is fill-ins. So if I'm singing twinkle, twinkle, little, and I stop, the kid will say star. That's a fill-in. Or ready, set, go. That's a fill-in, right? And the fifth one is just called an intraverbal. That's really just traditional conversation. So I say something, you say something, and I ask you a question, you answer a question. Those are the type of verbal operands. So typically kids learn to do these things in order. And for kids this takes place at a really young age, but typically we go in order. And in a good ABA therapist will typically try to go in order as well. And you're told all the time, well, asking for things is the first thing kids will learn, because it's really rewarding. Now that is true most of the time, but it doesn't necessarily have to be true all the time. So kids with autism, they tend to struggle with social skills. So asking for things or repeating language, the first 2 verbal operands, that is socially based, because it requires that you're paying attention to what another person is saying. Now kids with autism tend to be very visual, or manding means you don't necessarily have to pay attention or requesting to what the person's saying, but you're still going to another person, you're asking them for something. There's a social component to asking for things. Echoics, the repeating language, there's a social component to that for sure. That's where you have to actually pay attention to what someone's saying. That's really, really hard, right? The social piece is really hard. The social component of language can be really, really challenging for kids with autism. Sorry if you hear my dog barking in the background, but we're in my home today, so that's what happens. So, the social piece, again, it can be really, really challenging. So now, when you're looking at tacting, kids with autism are really visual. Tacting is basically commenting on what they're seeing. It could also be commenting on what they're hearing or what they're smelling or tasting, but for the purpose of this video, we'll say it's what they're seeing. So when they see, for example, the number 2 on a street sign, and they're 2, or whatever it is, where they're reading a book and they're like ABC, it's because they're very visual. There's no social piece, right? They don't have to worry about attending to another person. So they may actually be going out of order, and that's okay. So here's the good news. If your young child is doing this, parents ask me, okay, my kid is 2 years old, and I work with a lot of kids in early intervention. They're 2 years old, under 3, and they're saying their numbers and letters, and the parents were asking me, are they going to learn to talk? Well, the good news is if they're talking, that means that they physically can talk. There's no physical impairments preventing them from talking. Some children with autism will not acquire language, but that is kind of few and far in between. Most kids with autism, they do wind up acquiring language, and if they are saying their numbers and letters, it means that they physically can talk. So there's no reason to think that they later won't acquire more social skills as they mature and as they develop. So, what you should be doing about this as a parent, if your child is saying numbers or letters, is you really want to start focusing on requesting. Now, for some kids, you can actually use these things, and maybe they're perseverating for numbers or letters. It becomes a really, really big problem for you, then you may not want to use this. But if you're able to do this without it becoming a really big issue. So for example, I've worked with kids where they are so focused on numbers or letters that they'll be walking in the middle of the street and they see a sign on the side of the road, and they'll stop in the street and lay down, and they won't leave the sign. Obviously that's very dangerous. In that case, you have to prevent the kid from doing that. But let's just say that it's not super interfering. Use this to your advantage. Help your child. Get them to ask for it. So if they love numbers, get a number puzzle and you hold the numbers and hold up the 4, and when then they say it, give it to them. That'll help them to start make the connection between I say, I get, I say, I get, and moving from that tacting, which again, that third operand, back a step or 2 steps to that first one of requesting. So I really hope this video was helpful. I want to thank the parent. I think it was a grandparent who sent it in. And just know if you're watching this, a lot of kids are going through the same thing. It's not just your son or your grandson that's struggling with this, or if you're a teacher watching this, it's not just your student. This is something that's really common. The good thing is kids do typically grow out of it, and eventually it might even become a strength of theirs. So I really, really hope this video was helpful. Sometimes I call this my 1-minute coffee chat. Sometimes I can answer the questions in 1 minute, and sometimes it takes a little longer. So this was a big topic, so this is a little bit longer video. But I just want to let you know I really, really love to help you. My name is Jessica Leichtweisz. I'm the CEO of Hope Education Services. I've been working with kids with autism for 12 years. It'll be 13 in September. I can't believe it. But I want to help you get your questions answered. So if you're watching this live on Facebook, head over to my YouTube channel. That's GetAutismAnswers.com. Subscribe to my channel. I put out these videos every day, Monday through Friday. I put out a video every morning answering the questions that you send in. If you want to get your questions answered, I love to help you. Please send them to me. Head to my website, hopeeducationservices.com, jump on my email list, and then reply to my welcome email with your question. I will make a video just for you. The last 3 days, these videos have come directly from people who are on my list. Finally, if you want to check out, if you're on Instagram and that's easier for you than YouTube, all of these videos are going to be on IGTV, so check out my Instagram. It's at Hope Education Services. Have an amazing day. All those links are in the comments below, and we'll hopefully see you tomorrow.